Hello everyone, welcome to Chronicle IAS. My name is Shivani Tripathi and today we'll be starting the first subject of our new NCERT GS Beginners Foundation course 2026, and that is History of India. The reason we have taken History of India as the first subject of this series is keeping in mind the importance of history when it comes to different competitive exams that we are targeting with this course, such as UPPSC Civil Services exam, State Civil Services exam, SSC exams, CDS, and different other exams, which includes history as a very important part of its syllabus. So we will cover history in overall around 48 chapters, which will be around 150 hours divided in 150 lectures. So we have taken all the basic concepts of history, all the chapters of history chronologically, and we have dealt in our course, in our structure of this course, in a very, very basic level, so that when a beginner who is starting his or her preparation will be very comfortable while attending these lectures, irrespective of the fact that whether particular aspirant has any background of humanities in history or not. So we have taken all the NCERTs, keeping all the NCERTs importance in mind, class 12th NCERTs. This is also class 12th NCERT, because class 12th NCERT is divided in 3 parts, theme 1, theme 2, and theme 3, and has dealt with the history of India in a very detailed manner. But before that, we will start from class 6 levels basic, because it deals with all the chronologies and all the chapters in a very basic manner. So these are the list of chapters which we will cover in this particular series. You can see here, prehistoric India will be the first chapter which we will study today. And this is Harappan culture, Vedic culture, Jainism, Magad and Alexander's invasion, Mauryan Empire. So these are the chapters which we will cover as the series, as this course will process in future. Early medieval India again, Delhi Sultanate, India, the different type of administration under Delhi Sultanate, and then what is the difference when it comes with Mughal Empire, then again Marathas, the arrival of European, here comes the modern India, because we are moving from ancient India to modern India via medieval India, okay? So India on the eve of British conquest. So we have taken the general studies syllabus of history and we have designed our course taking all the contents from class 6 to class 12 NCERTs. So these will be the 48 chapters around. You can see here. Okay, so then at the end we will study about different movements which led to the independence of India with partition. So we will see all these chapters chronologically in a systematic manner. We will deal with PYQs and model MCQs. So let's see the first chapter, that is prehistoric India. Okay, so this will be the first chapter, and what we have taken is we have taken the content from class 11th NCERT of Tamil Nadu, class 11th NCERT of CBSC, which deals with prehistoric rock paintings, and then class 6th NCERT chapter 4, because that is where the first and the basic part which we will cover today. Okay, so these are the textbooks, class 6 NCERTs, 11th, and again class 11th NCERT of CBSC. Okay, so you will be also given PDFs, highlighted PDFs, as we have already mentioned in our key features of the course. So for that you can see highlighted PDFs are given attached to this lecture on our website, and you can visit the website so that you can see that highlighted PDFs, and we have designed this course keeping that in mind. So the chapter 1 is prehistoric India. Okay, so in prehistoric India we will study about Paleolithic age, Mesolithic age, Neolithic age, and we will study that in chronology from very basics, so that you will be able to understand that why a particular age is called as a stone age and how it is different from the coming ages such as Chalcolithic age. So in this chapter, we will study about prehistoric India, and this will be our first lecture of this chapter, which includes the following topics which are mentioned here, such as we will see before studying prehistoric India, it is very important to know what is history. Okay, if I ask you in a very generic manner, what is your history? So you will say, okay, fine, there are certain things which I have done in my life, there are certain experiences which you might have experienced, and there are certain learnings which you might have got from that experience. That is your history. Just like that, when it comes to a nation, and a nation like India, there is a history. There are certain sources through which defines history in a particular way, and that are based on evidence. You just can't say that, okay, this was the part of our history. Until and unless there will not be any evidence, that will not be considered as history. So that's where you will understand that what is history and why even we are studying history, why all the competitive exams has considered history as a very important part of the subject. Okay, so knowing that is very important, because when you will know the importance of history, you will build an interest, and while attending the lectures, while studying history in your own rooms, you will be like connecting with the people of past, and then it will create a kind of fun in you, so that you can focus more on that particular part of the history. Okay, we will see about sources of history. Okay, that from where we lead to a particular evidence, from where a particular archaeological excavations are done. We will see all that, and then types of history, timeline, and basic idea about that how there is introduction of human history, how humans who were once living in jungles started creating communities, developed agriculture. We will listen and study all this in today's lecture. So this is a great saying by Theodore Roosevelt, which says that the more you know about the past, the better prepared you are for the future. And this is just to show you that how important history is. Because when you study history in a very proper way, when you take the learnings from that particular part of your history, then you apply that particular learning in your future. And that is why studying history is very important, because the more you will know about the past, the more and the better prepared you are for the future. Because at the end of the day, we have to apply all the lessons for the future. And same applies to history when it comes as a subject, as a history of India. We will see further when we will move forward to different lectures. We will see how the technologies of Mauryan Empire were moved to Gupta, how their administration changed and evolved over a period of time. Okay, so that is why history and study of history is very important. Now here is the first thing is, as I have already said, what is history? So can you say a particular incident as history just because you think that is right? Or do we have certain parameters? Okay, so there are certain parameters, because archaeologists and different historians deeply research on a particular topic, provide evidence. Okay, so the study of human past in a very generic terms is called as history, the study of human past. Based on what? Sources. Okay, based on different sources of history, when we study about human past, different periods of time, then we can say, okay, this is history, because it has to be verified, it has to be have certain evidences in order to prove that the particular thing happened. Okay, so there is an example of this hunting scene. Why is this important? Because this is one such source, that is painting. So this is a Mesolithic painting. In this scene where group of people are showing hunting a bison. So this is the kind of painting which somebody has drawn in a Mesolithic era, where you can see people are hunting animals. Why they might be hunting animals is the reason because that time was not easy. There was no Swiggy, there was no Zomato to order food as per our convenience. So they had to struggle for the food. Even the plants and the different kind of things which you know as a food item today were not available there. So all what they were doing was living in jungles, surviving in jungles by killing different animals. So this particular painting is significant in a fact that it tells something about that period of time. Okay, because these people are hunting a bison, some injured men are depicted lying scattered on the ground. So this is very important because it's not easy to hunt dangerous animals. Okay, so maybe some of them were hunting and some of them just lied in the process and they just fell down. Then these paintings show mastery in the skill of drawing these forms because it has been drawn in the era of Mesolithic era and we are seeing it today. So can you imagine the kind of skill the person who must have drawn this image had at that point of time? Okay, so this was a hunting scene and this is a kind of source which is a painting. So just like that, pottery, different architectures, paintings, literary sources, different other texts such as autobiographies, these all acts as the sources of history. But before that, let's see why we study history. Okay, what is the need to study history? And the need is identity. So if I ask you about what is your family and from where do you come and where have you lived and what is your history? So your history will tell about your identity, the place where you belong to, the family where you were born, your forefathers, their occupation, and your complete identity will be based on your history. Because without studying your history, you will not be able to know about your own identity as a person, as a people of this society who are living together, but they have certain identity. And then there are certain lessons from the past, which I have already said that the most important element of studying history is to not repeat the mistakes of past in the future. So it is very important. Then change and continuity, because there are certain aspects of history which needs to be changed, which are not good elements, but there are certain other aspects of history which should be continue even today because of its progressiveness, because of its relevance, because of its skill. So the things which leads to something digression in a society, regressive thing, उन सारी चीज़ों को हमें छोड़ देना चाहिए और जो चीज़ें अच्छी हैं उन्हें हमें स्वीकार करना चाहिए, because that is what history teaches us, that what are the bad things which we have to leave and what are the good things which we should continue. And maybe there will be a time that today's good thing will become bad thing in the future. So that is why completely analysis is important, and that is possible only because we study history. Okay, so that we have seen that what is history and why we study history. So now we will move to sources of history. So can you see your image here? That is the speciality of the new NCERTs which we are dealing, because these new NCERTs just not provide you the information, but it provide you different questions. It wants you to think, it wants you to study in a more analytical manner, and that's why it is asked here, have you ever seen old coins, books, clothes, jewelry, or utensils in and around your house? What type of information can we gain from such objects or from the old houses? So why is this, what this image is trying to portray? This is the image of class 6th NCERT. Okay. So when you will see the highlighted PDFs of NCERTs, you will find this image, and that is class 6th NCERT, which is asking something. Because these old coins, books, clothes, which are lying in your old houses or maybe in your grandfather's or mother's room, tells something about their livelihood, their past, and you can study certain aspects of their life by studying just these coins, books, and clothes. Okay, so that's why a place, person, text, or an object from which we gather information about some past events is a source of history. What is a source of history? The source, any text, any object, anything from which we gather certain informations about the past. That acts as the source of history. And when it comes to the sources of history as a subject, these are the sources, and this is a very beautiful diagram which is given again in class 6th NCERTs. In class 6th NCERT, which tells about the sources of history. So there are different sources of history, such as literary source, artistic source, archaeological source, and oral sources. So these sources of history, and they have certain types, because there are certain literary sources. Now, what are the literary sources? Foreign accounts. So different foreign travelers have traveled in our country. We all know about the famous foreign travelers such as Yun Sang, who traveled during the time of Harshvardhan, and then there is the Fahin, who traveled during the time of Chandragupta II. So these were the travelers who created certain historical chronicles and certain travelogues. They might have been noting about different aspects of Indian society. So that when we study today, we will get a clear idea about that particular point of time in history. Okay, there are Indian literature. Okay, so we have a very old and a very ancient tradition of literature when it comes to the philosophy of India, and that we get from Indian literature. India is a country which was very, and even today, there is very rich history when it comes to Indian literature, because we have our Vedas, we have our poems and plays, and the poets like Kalidas, who have written Shakuntalam and Malvika Agnimitra. These plays are important and considered very important even worldwide, and these are recognized all over the world. So basically, there are certain historical texts and collection of stories, and certain scientific and technological texts, such as we know about the medicines. Medicines were highly developed in when it comes to ancient India. We all know about Patanjali. Okay, there are certain collection of stories. There are certain stories which are which comes under the category of ancient texts, such as Panchatantra. Okay, so this is one of the very important textbook. Then there are certain historical texts. For example, if we have to know about the Mughal Emperor Babur, we will study about that in his own autobiography, that is Babarnama. And then there are poems and plays. So one of the most important poet was Kalidas, we all know. And then that kind of poems, that kind of plays help you to understand about the society of that particular point of time. It acts as a source of history, source of information of that particular point of time. And then there are certain Vedas. We know about the four Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajur Ved, Sam Ved, and Atharv Ved. So these are the Vedas and Upanishads, philosophical texts when it comes to Indian literature. So these texts also tells a very important and different aspects of Indian life. And then there are artistic sources, such as paintings. I have already shown you the painting where the group of people were hunting a bison. Okay, so that was a painting which was giving some information about that particular point of time. And then there are sculptures. So we all have visited certain historical monuments and certain historical places where we might have seen certain sculptures. So that is also giving you certain information about the time in which it was built. Then there are certain panels and informations about that particular point of time. Then there are certain excavations, such as human, animal, and plant remains. By studying the human, animal, and plant remains, we will study about the different aspects of that point of time, and that we study about excavations. Then there are tools and weapons, figurines and ornaments, pottery and toys, habitation and burials. We know that even in Indus Valley civilization, we have studied about the burial methods. So even if we do not know much about that particular point of time, but what we know that how they used to bury people, okay? So that was one of the method. Then there are certain inscriptions, which is about manuscripts, copper plates, coins. These inscriptions, sometimes it should be on a plate, sometimes it was on a wall. We know about Ashokan pillar inscriptions, so different Allahabad pillar inscription, which tells about Samudragupt. So these are the inscriptions that also comes under one of the very important source of history. And then there are oral sources, such as genealogical, which has been narrated to you by different forefathers, different grandmothers, and different other old people of a particular village, which tells something about that. And then there are folklore. Every village has certain kind of stories which are prevalent in that particular village only. And whenever you will move out of that particular village, you will not find any such thing, okay? Because that is completely related to that particular place. Okay. Now moving forward to types of history. Okay. So now we will see about the types of history based on the availability of the resources or sources. So history is divided in different types and on different parameters. So when we divide history based on the type of sources and based on the sources which were written either in written form, and the literary sources or the sources such as archaeological sources. So considering that sources, we have divided history into three types: prehistory, proto-history, and history. Okay, so prehistory is that point of time before writing was unknown. So in prehistoric time is the time of the history when there was no written sources available. So we do not have any literary sources which we can read and find about that particular point of time. Okay, and that's why it is called as prehistory, because writing was not yet developed. And because writing was not developed, we can rely on different other type of sources such as paintings, pottery, and different archaeological sites to know about that particular time, which is here prehistoric time. So you can say that the sources here are stone tools, cave paintings, fossils, and pottery, because literary sources such as books, inscriptions, different type of written documents were not available in this period because writing was not known to the people. Okay, so this is a kind of again painting where certain animals are shown. So why is this a prehistoric source? Because this is a painting and this does not tell you anything in a written form, but rather in an artistic form, in a type of painting. So examples we can say is Paleolithic age, Mesolithic age, and Neolithic age, which can be learned in a chronology only, because this was the three time periods in which prehistoric time is divided. What is that? Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic. So it is often called as PMN. You can use this particular acronym to remember that. And after this you will find Chalcolithic age, which is about Indus Valley civilization. So Paleolithic age is the time from 2 million BCE to 10,000 BCE. So this was the time period of Paleolithic age. And one of the finest example of such time was Bhimbetka rock shelters, which is situated in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so Bhimbetka, and this is the painting is of Bhimbetka cave paintings only. So Bhimbetka rock shelters are one of the most ancient sites which we found in the history of India. And where it is located in Madhya Pradesh. And many previous year questions are based on this rock shelters and the paintings which are there in this rock shelter. Okay, this is also a World Heritage Site, and it is located in the state of Madhya Pradesh and belongs to the time period of 2 million BCE to 10,000 BCE. The next time period is Mesolithic age, which is from 10,000 BCE to 6,000 BCE. So now as the time passed, Paleolithic age ended and Mesolithic age started, and we will see the difference between these ages in our upcoming lectures, because our next lecture is on Paleolithic age, where we will learn about Paleolithic sites and what are the sources available and how it was different from Mesolithic age and Neolithic age, and what are the parameters on which we have divided Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic. Okay, Neolithic age belongs to 6000 BC to 2000 BCE. And one of the very important Neolithic time period is Mehergar, which is now in Pakistan, and Burzahom in Kashmir. So Mehergar is a very important place when it comes to prehistoric time of India, because this is the place where agriculture started first time. People started cultivating crops very first time, and this question has been asked in multiple exams, okay? Because Mehergar is a site which is located in Pakistan and which belongs to Neolithic age, and we will see certain developments in this site, and that's why this site is very important. So prehistoric time is divided into 3 particular ages, which is Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic. Now the second type of history is proto-history. So here basically writing existed but not yet deciphered. Now what does this mean? Writing was there. There are certain scripts or things which you can see that and analyze that, okay, this is something written here, but you will not be able to read it. And what is the reason? Because different historians still now have not been able to decipher that particular script. They have not been able to understand what exactly is written there. So let's see this particular thing, which is this is a Harappa seal. Okay. This is a Harappa seal, and if you will analyze this particular picture, you will see there are certain things which is written here. This is a certain animal and certain other pictographic revelations of that particular time. Now, do we know what exactly is written on this seal? We do not know. Why? Because we have not been able to decipher it. We have not been able to read it. So even though there is something written form which is available for this period of time, but we cannot read it because of our own lack of understanding of this particular script. And that's why it is very famously said that we know very lot of information about Indus Valley civilization, but we do not have a written script which we can read. Okay, and that's why today also it is very difficult for historians to gather information about the periods, and we daily in our newspapers we see certain revelations made for this period. Why? Because we are not able to exactly point out the fact that what led to the arrival of this particular civilization, how they had certain urban development structures. You will see this structure. This is a great bath of Mohenjo-daro. So if you will see this particular structure, you will see that it is one of the very significant architectural findings of Indus Valley civilization. The particular construction is done in a very developed form, and it represents an urban city. That means Indus Valley civilization might have certain things which led to their urban form of development because of the finiteness of this particular architecture. So we know that these are measured in a proper parameters, and they have been built in a very great understanding of town planning and all, but we do not know that how they have been able to do that. So we can just take out certain informations from this particular diagram, and we can say that, okay, urban development was one of the major features of Indus Valley civilization, where towns were developed such as today's towns are developed, today's cities are developed. But we do not have the privilege of reading this script, and that's why we have a very limited amount of information. So this was the time. Proto-history was the transition time from prehistory to history, because prehistory was the time where there was no written sources available. So we cannot read anything. But proto-history is, writing was there, but we do not read it. Okay, we cannot read it. And the sources, then if there is no written sources, or if there is written sources but we are not able to read it, then what is left? The archaeological sources, sources such as this. Okay, such as such findings like Harappan seal, such town planning infrastructures. So when we will analyze this particular archaeological developments, archaeological excavations and different sites, we can know something about that particular time period. Okay, so one of the very famous example of proto-history is Indus Valley civilization, which existed during 2400 BCE to 1500 BCE. Okay, there was an urban planning which you can see in Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro, and because this particular Indus Valley civilization is mentioned in Mesopotamian records also, and this civilization was used to call by Mesopotamians as Maluha. Okay, so Maluha is a name given to Indus Valley civilization, to Harappan civilization in different Mesopotamian records. Okay, so this is the second type of history, which is proto-history. Writing was there, but we cannot read it today. Now moving forward to the third type, which is history in itself, from where we have certain archaeological sources, certain literary sources, and we have been able to read it also, we have been able to decipher the script, and that's why it can be said that the information which we have from this point of time is very accurate and very evidential. Okay, so here writing existed and scripts can be deciphered. The sources were inscriptions, manuscripts, coins, and monuments. Okay, so different other monuments such as Ashokan pillar inscription. So this is an Ashokan pillar inscription. We know that a great deal of information about Mauryan period, especially the time of Ashoka, has been deciphered from the pillar inscriptions which was built by Ashoka in that point of time. We know about Kalinga War, the famous Kalinga War, after which Ashoka had done a tremendous changes in his administrative policies. In this particular inscription, there is an Ashokan pillar inscription where we get other information about. There is a 13th rock edict inscription of Ashoka, from where we know about Kalinga War. So that detailing of that particular war was able to be derived because of such written sources, such literary sources. Until unless we will not be able to read this, we will not be able to decipher this, we cannot say that, okay, this war was fought by this or this leader, and how they won and what were the repercussions, what was the impact of that particular war. So by reading such literary sources, we can clearly say about Kalinga War, because in one of the Ashokan edicts, 13th rock edict, it is mentioned there about different aspects of Kalinga War. And Ashokan edicts are very important when it comes to your examinations. Different rock edicts are there, 1, 2, 3, 4 till 13th or 14th, and different rock edicts tells about different aspects of Ashokan administration. So these questions are repeatedly asked in PYQs. Okay, so the first age which is the example of history is Vedic age. Okay, where the first literary source which was written was Rig Veda, which is one among the 4 Vedas available to us. So this was the earliest written literary source available when it comes to the history of India. Okay, so Vedic age started from around 1500 BCE after Indus Valley civilization. We will study about this particular Rig Vedic era in detail in our upcoming lectures. Again, Mauryan Empire is example. So after the end of Indus Valley civilization, we do not know the downfall of Indus Valley civilization or what led to the downfall of Indus Valley civilization, because we do not have any literary source available. But from the time of Vedic era and then Mauryan era, then Gupta era, all these time periods have written sources available. So we can definitely say, okay, this was the point of time when the Mauryan Empire was established. Okay. So this is a time chronology to show you that prehistory in which Stone Age was one of the significant time period. Then there was proto-history, where we know that about Indus Valley civilization, and in Stone Age there are PMN, Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic ages. Then in proto-history, the significant one of the example is Indus Valley civilization. And then moving forward to history, we know about Vedic period, Mauryan period, okay, Mahajanpadas. These all belong to the time of history. So now we have come to a point where we have understand about the prehistory time, proto-history time and history. Because without understanding about what was before history, what we have studied in history, but there might be something before history also, because human beings have lived on this earth from around 3 lakh BC. So what they were doing. So that was an era of prehistoric time. And now we will move to history and different other chapters of history, different other empires of history, and we will study about history. But before that, you have to know that this was how human civilization evolved during their journey. Now this is to just, there are certain other aspects such as timeline of history, how timelines are measured, and how humans might have started living in communities, because originally they came from jungles, but what led to their evolution, what are the factors which led them to form cities, towns, villages, homes, agriculture. So different other developmental aspects of human history is very important for you to have an idea, so that you can completely correlate with the fact that, okay, this might have happened with them, and then we can see that there was Indus Valley civilization and Mauryan Empire and different other empires, because humans have led a journey from jungles to civilization. So you have to know certain aspects of that, okay? So before moving to that, we can say about timeline of history. So this is a Gregorian calendar. We all know that it is the standard calendar when it comes to measuring any kind of time related things, okay, for knowing different months and different years. So we have the Gregorian calendar, which is used worldwide, and this is have 12 months in it, and then which is divided in 365 days, and where in every 4 years there is a leap year, okay? So again, we have seen about the integrated approach, where we have to integrate different subjects with the other subjects. So you know why there is a leap year after every 4 years in Gregorian calendar? There is a certain scientific reason behind it, okay, which is related to the rotation of moon around the earth. So this is your homework. You can find about that why there is a leap year after every 4 years, and this has certain scientific dimensions, okay? So now we are linking history with science. So in order to be more curious about it, it is always very good that you find certain things from your own, so that you can find about that particular reasoning behind that, okay? So there are certain acronyms which is used, such as BC and AD, BCE and CE. So what does this mean? You have seen that Indus Valley civilization existed from 2500 BC to 1500 BC. Now what is this BC? And then at certain times you will see that, okay, 1500 CE. So see, BC stands for before Christ, okay? So birth of Jesus Christ is taken as the starting point. So birth of Jesus, so in order to divide timeline in a certain manner, certain significant events are always taken. And because we follow the standard calendar, that is Gregorian calendar, which has Christianity at its core, it is divided keeping in mind the birth of Jesus Christ. So let's suppose there is a time period like this, and this was the time when Jesus Christ was born, okay? So here, moving right to this is AD, which stands for Anno Domini, and before this it is BC, okay, before Christ. So this was the time. But in order to make it more secular over different point of time, because as the historical developments happened in different parts of the world and as the world integrated, in order to make it more secular and more universal, these acronyms got changed to before Common Era, okay, that is BCE, and AD got changed to Common Era. Okay, so in order to make it more universal, because this is now the standard calendar which is used worldwide. Okay, so BC got converted into BC, which stands for before Common Era, and AD got converted into CE, Common Era. Now this is a time period which is shown, which shows certain significant events, such as the first example of rock art in the world. Okay, so it happened around 40,000 BCE, and then moving forward to certain other developments such as end of last ice age, first developments and beginning of agriculture started around 12,000 BCE. So you can see these acronyms and now you will have no confusion about it, because now BC and BC is synonymous, and again AD and CE is synonymous. Now you can see that around 6,000 BC, there is the pottery technology in Indian subcontinent. Then Indus Valley civilization around this 2500 BC, and then here we are today in 21st century, okay? So now you can see certain other measurements when it comes to measuring time, year, decade, and century and millennium, because our focus here is to build basics and to remove all the confusions even about very basic things. So you have to know what exactly is the difference between a year, decade, millennium, and century, because these things seem to be very common, but sometimes during examinations, the lack of clear understanding and clear knowledge of that, we just end up doing a particular question wrong because of very minute mistakes. And that, in order to avoid that, we want to focus on the basics. So when it comes to year, it is a basic unit of time measurement in history. We measure things in years. Then there is a decade, which is for 10 years. Century stands for a period of 100 years, and millennium is a period of 1,000 years. Okay? So, decade is for 10 years, century for 100, and millennium is for 1,000 years. So, 1999 can be considered as the not only the end of a century, but also the end of a millennium. Okay, and today, presently, we are in 21st century. These are the certain events. This is a very great pictographic representation of a timeline. It is given in your class 6 NCERTs, where 560 BC, when Buddha was born, then Jesus Christ's birth, and then today, and moving forward to the future. So this is just to locate certain events and to show you that how important chronology is in history. Certain questions from PYQs are also asked based on chronology only. So you have to have the clear understanding of it. Now moving forward to introduction to human history. So as I have told that we will see certain aspects of human history. What were the challenges when they might have started living outside the forest? So humans have known to existed for around 3 lakh years. But this is a very small portion of the complete that part of the earth on which we are living. So it is a very small portion. Human beings have contributed very small portion of the birth of the universe. Okay. So modern humans, scientific name is Homo sapiens, who have known to exist for around 3 lakh years, and today we are we know about, today we are living in 2025. So we know hardly about 30 to 40,000 years of history. Okay. So early human life and what would have been their challenges. The first challenges was hunters and gatherers, because it is often said that the most important basic sources which is important for human survival is roti, kapda, and makan. So food was the first priority, because without food, a human being cannot live. So their first challenge was hunting, because how they will be able to get food, and then gathering food. Okay, so their first role would have been about hunters and gatherers. Then after, when they would have got something to eat, they might also have, they need or require to live in certain shelters. So if you are told to live in a jungle, or if you are told to live in a place, your first priority will be to find food. Okay, and your second priority will be to find shelters. And then there are certain, only after you will meet your basic needs, then you will move to the cultural aspects only. Okay, so cultural aspects such as rock paintings, ornaments, and trading. So this is a gradual evolution of human history. First they were hunters and gatherers, then they might have formed certain communities, developed agriculture, and then they started certain cultural things. So this is a very good diagram. It is taken from class 6th NCERT, where you can see different human beings doing different works based on their need. And then there was development of agriculture. Now, development of agriculture is a very important aspect of human history, because it forced them to live in certain communities. Because when you will develop agriculture, you will have a security when it comes to food security. Then you will have to live around that particular field in order to protect your crops, in order to nurture it, in order to keep it more flourishing. Okay, so the different climate changes and ice ages have taken when it comes to the earth, have experienced many climate changes, including periods of cold and warm ages. Now, after the ice ages would have been extincted, after that there was post-ice age developments, where climate might have warmed up and animals were domesticated. Because when there was ice age, it was not the conducive environment for humans to live in. Okay, but now when the ice age ended, the climate might have warmed up, and the animals can now be domesticated and kept in different architectures. What would have been the impact of agriculture? Communities grew in size and number and settled near rivers. So communities would have now started building huts. They might have settled near rivers. They might have domesticated animals. This is a very beautiful picture which was showing the life of early human. You can see they have developed certain hut kind of a structure near a river, and then they are doing farming here. They have also domesticated animals. So this was the first point of time in human history when they have started living together. Okay? And after the point when they started living together, now comes the social complexities which we see even today. Okay, so as communities expanded, social structures became more common and more complex, with leaders or chieftains responsible for the community welfare. Because when people will live in a particular community, there is a need of certain leader, there is a need of certain persons who might be seeing the welfare of all. So different occupations are important. The partition and division of occupations in different part of the people was important. So this was the early ages, the early phases of human history. Land was collectively sowed and harvested, and there was no sense of individual ownership in starting, because obviously the primary responsibility for them was to grow crops and to form their livelihood. So only when they will form their livelihood, they will think about certain other aspects. Okay, so primary responsibility was this, and this picture completely depicts that. So this is, as we have seen, certain aspects of prehistoric time. So let's solve PYQs, which was taken from different exams. We have mainly focused on last 5 years. So the earliest evidence of agriculture in Indian subcontinent has been obtained from, so we have already seen this particular thing in our previous slides. Where, and this question is asked in UPPSC 2010 exam, and the answer is Mehergarh. Okay, so this was the earliest evidence of agriculture which is found in Mehergarh. Now, which one of the following periods is also known as Chalcolithic age. This is Copper age. Okay. So after the ending of prehistoric India, we will learn about the Chalcolithic age, and Indus Valley civilization is very important part of this particular age. So we'll study about this age in a very detailed manner in our upcoming lectures. So this was the question which was asked in 44th BPSC exam of 2000. And now we will see in the last how the villages and towns might have developed. Now, what was the chronology? People started developing shelters, people started building communities, they might have chosen certain leaders. Now, what is left? Building of certain villages and towns. Now they will have a particular group of people, let's suppose 10 people have certain qualities in common. Then there are certain other people who will have certain other qualities in common. So they will form their own villages. Okay. And certain more developed villages will convert into towns. So first they will form villages, and they will move to a more developed form and towns. So this will be their chronology of shifting towards development. Okay? So formation of villages, emergence of towns, and different technological advancements equally would have taken place at that point of time. We know about pottery and metalworking because earlier there was a stone which was used as a tool in a Stone Age. But when it comes to Chalcolithic age, copper was the earliest metal which was explored by human beings. So that in that point of time, there might be have certain development of metal works. Okay, you will find copper plates. So because of this technological advancement, certain other developments, scientific developments would have been taken place. Okay. And when you will meet all these requirements, the basic requirements of fooding, shelter, clothing, communication, and villages, towns, and only then you can move to the path of civilization. The early stage of human development led to the groundwork for what would later known as civilization. Now, in our next lecture, when you will study about Indus Valley civilization, you will know that how these particular elements, developmental elements, helped in the evolution of that civilization. Because we have seen the particular architecture of Great Bath that would not have been built on the first day of human arrival of humans. It would have taken a very long period of time, because when you will have food to eat, when you will have clothes to wear, only then you will move and form cultural aspects, and which will further lead to a civilization. Okay? So this is 2 model MCQs, which you should solve on your own, because this is based on the lectures we have studied in this. Stone Age is characterized by the use of tools made primarily from which material? So the name itself says that it is a stone, bone, and wood. So Stone Age was a time period when the tools were made primarily of stone, bones, and wood, because there was no development of any other metals. Okay. Now the second question is, consider the following statements about measuring time. And this is a 4 statement, because we know as the different examinations are evolving, different statement based questions are asked. A year is a basic unit of time measured in history. Decade refers to the period of 100 years. Century, 10 years, and millennium represents a period of 1000 years. So what we have seen, decade is for 10 years and century is for 100 years. These are very basic things, but sometimes we tend to forget this. Okay. So the answer will be, which of the following is correct? That is 1 and 4. So this reading this particular question in itself is very important, because if you read this thing correct or incorrect wrong, then you will end up solving this question wrong. So this was the complete first lecture of our prehistoric India, in which we have studied about what is history, different sources of history, timeline of history, and different other aspects of evolution of human history. So in our next lecture, we will study and move forward to the other ages. So we will learn about Paleolithic ages, Mesolithic ages, and Neolithic ages. And in this way only, we will study the further lectures of this course. Okay? So stay motivated and keep learning and see our PDFs which are available on the sites. You can also practice model MCQs. You can also practice PYQs which are available on our Chronicle IAS app. And you can keep learning and you can send your queries as and when required. Thank you so much.